These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
And welcome into a Reckless Speculation Thursday. It's a scoop day, and if you're watching this right now, you're saying, "What is going on, Sports Dad? Where are all the regular cast of characters?" Well, Declan and Phil are off. I'm just going to sell them out. They're taking a Reckless Speculation Thursday off. So we have AJ producing, which is outstanding because Age is great.
Yes,
Age is great.
Yep, love to see AJ.
And Doogie with the scoop, because he is the scoop. So if he is not going to work, there's no purpose. Like Reckless Speculation Thursday loses its entire meaning. And you know what? There's no days off on Viking Packer week. It's Vikings Packers week. It doesn't get bigger than this.
Amen. Heck, Judd, it's
thank you.
Boxing Day.
I love Boxing Day.
It's day one of World Juniors, which I know means a ton to you two.
Yes.
And yes, most importantly for me, it's Reckless Speculation Thursday of Packers Week.
I know.
And Judd, your memory is better than mine. Even though you're older than me, you still have a rock solid memory.
Okay, yeah.
When have the stakes been this high?
I was trying to think of this.
For the Vikings and Packers.
I was trying to think of this.
How far back do we need to go?
So 2015, bear with me here. The Vikings clinched the division at the end of the season in Lambeau with the team that lost the Blair Walsh kick game to Seattle. So that game had a magnitude. But I was trying to think back to when did the game feel this big? And it has been a long time. At least 15 is a reference point. But, penultimate game for, both teams. It's huge. And keep in mind, too, from the Vikings' perspective, you guys, if the Vikings lose this game, and it's going to be a tough game, and Detroit beats San Fran, which looked like a great matchup at the beginning of the season, but San Fran is beat to hell. They've been eliminated from the playoffs. Then Week 18 takes on a shrug emoji for Detroit. So, this game is absolutely huge. And you know what? The Packers aren't done. 2 games back of the Vikings and Lions? So it's been a long time, Darren.
It has. And I suppose the Packers still have, the 5 seed to play for? So if the Packers win out, if the Vikings lose out, do I have this right? Green Bay then the 5, the Vikings the 6. But yes,
I believe that's
to me it comes down to Sunday. I really believe, call me foolish, but the Lions are beating the Niners on Monday night, okay? And I get it. The Lions are decimated, but so are the Niners. I think the Lions win on Monday, even though it's a road game. I understand that. So to me, if you're thinking about the 1 seed, not having to win 3 games on the road in January just to get to New Orleans, it is a must-win game for the Vikings on Sunday. I was on ESPN Bet this morning. When did the line shift? Packers -1 now. It opened... I saw it open, Packers +1.5. A couple other sites had it +2, somewhere in that vicinity. Now, hey, if we're building in the customary 3 points for home field advantage, you can look at it and say the Packers opened as a favorite. But now it has shifted. Enough money has come in on the Packers where it is now Packers -1. I have to imagine that may come up at TCO Performance Center.
And I think yesterday I even saw, I think it even came back a little bit because I think at one point on Christmas Day, the Packers were 1.5 point favorites for betting line. So it's almost
so maybe it shifted in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
I just remember looking at it, whether it was Monday or into Tuesday, certainly looked at it late Sunday. It opened Vikings -1.5 or 2, depending on the site. But it has shifted enough. But I guess I sort of get it the way the Packers are playing really since mid-November. I get it. They lost at the buzzer to Detroit in early December, but they've been pretty darn good. And Jordan Love hasn't thrown a pick since week 11, so he's rolling.
He's healthy now.
They are in many ways a run-first team, the way Josh Jacobs is going right now.
Yeah.
So I guess I sort of get it. But hey, 8 consecutive wins. And you are now an underdog
at home.
Heck, whatever you need to get motivated heading into 325 on Sunday, use it if you're the Vikings.
At home as well, too, Dukes. Like that surprises me. I thought that the Vikings would be slight favorites all week long up until kickoff. So I am really surprised. But to your point, the people that bet aren't necessarily dumb. Let's talk about this though. So you bring up Jacobs, and I would like to say for as many Vikings fans, and they're right, that are like, Aaron Jones got let go by the Packers and then he signed with the Vikings, and Aaron Jones has been great here. Like, he's great in the locker room. He's been a significant upgrade despite the fumbles as a player on the field at that position. But you know what? You can now clearly see why the Packers moved on. I mean, Jacobs is a bell cow. Jacobs is a guy that you can run into the ground, right? And that he can carry you. Aaron Jones has a lot of great attributes. That's not one. If you gave Aaron Jones the workload that the Packers are giving Josh Jacobs, I think he gets hurt. I don't think that he can withstand that. So I think ultimately the whole thing was a win-win, but I see what the Packers did now, and I think it makes sense.
This is what, year 6 or 7 for Matt LaFleur? Is it 6 or 7?
I'll look it up.
It's been many years. Okay, so it doesn't
it.
matter if it's year 6 or year 7.
Okay.
Matt LaFleur's been the head coach for a long time, comparatively speaking to most of the league, a really long time. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. My observation, this is by far the most physical of all the Matt LaFleur Packers teams. We have not seen an offensive line in offense this physical. Run first, I'm telling you. Like, I believe this is a run first offense. Even though you're paying Jordan Love all that money, even though you have enough talent on the outside, I truly believe this is a run first offense. I don't know if we've been able to say that going back any number of years under Matt LaFleur. So yes, win-win. Josh Jacobs, for what Green Bay wanted to accomplish this year, an upgrade over Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones here, clear upgrade over Alexander Mattison and company from last year.
Absolutely.
And Dukes, I know for just with the holiday season, I know myself, I haven't been as glued to the Vikings injury report, but there was a couple did not practices yesterday. Mainly Harrison Smith is the guy that I think a lot of people are keeping an eye on leading up to Sunday. Do you have any injury tidbits, nuggets on how things are progressing heading into the weekend?
Well, I'll start with the good news. I mean, Ivan Pace Jr., we've been talking about this in this spot for a few weeks. He's always targeted December 29th, home game against the Packers. He is ready to go. Now, I get it. Hamstring, tricky injury. So let's see how he progresses. How does he get through? I mean, Wednesday really wasn't a real practice. So let's see how he gets through today, the first real practice of the week. Then into Friday, how does he wake up Saturday morning? But it's trending in the right direction for Ivan Pace Jr. to return after missing 4 games. Jalen Redmond, I put something on the X machine last week that this was going to be short term. It was unfortunate he missed the Seattle game. I still don't know why Seattle didn't run the ball more, but Jalen Redmond trending toward being back after missing 1 game on Sunday. So we talk about needing to contain Josh Jacobs. You want Jalen Redmond in there. It's looking good when it comes to that. On Harrison Smith, yeah, it's interesting. I spoke with him after the Bears game, had a nice conversation with him in the locker room after the Bears game. Everything seemed okay. So it must have been after he woke up Tuesday into Wednesday. I was told it happened at some point in that game, but he wasn't feeling a whole lot of pain. I mean, I've seen Harrison beat up after some games. He didn't have that look, that feel, that vibe that late Monday night in the locker room on the 16th. And so to me, it was interesting that he missed the Seattle game. I'd like to think he'll be back this week, considering the ramifications. But I guess I need to see just a little bit more. AJ, I'll be out there later today. So let's see how Thursday goes. So some trepidation on my end on that front. But if I had to bet right now, if you're asking me right now on Thursday morning, Harrison Smith in or out, I lean towards in.
Hey, Duke, how surprised were you that while he played, I think we all assumed that for that game, Theo Jackson would start. And I know that he is cross-trained more behind Metellus as a jack of all trades. And by the way, I think that the Vikings remain very high on Jackson, and I do think that Jackson will play a ton in 2025. But how surprised were you that they actually made the practice squad move and started the veteran McCain, right, over Theo Jackson, and that McCain actually played a lot in that game. That was the one thing that caught me a little bit off guard.
Yeah, I was surprised. What was it, 35 or 36 snaps? Don't have the exact snap count
And he
in
started
front of me
and played
right
a bunch.
second. But
Absolutely.
yeah, McCain was like 35 or 36 snaps. Theo Jackson was like 21-ish, 22, somewhere in that neighborhood. If you had asked me Sunday morning, I would have told you Theo Jackson 30-something snaps. Bobby McCain, once they made the move official on Saturday that they were elevating him, figured, yeah, he'll have some sort of role. Trust factor, just a guy that's been doing it forever. I mean, they really, really like Bobby McCain. I mean, you talk about a selfless locker room. We touched on Brian Osama a couple weeks ago, how deep down, I think in early November, he would have absolutely been very open-minded to switching teams, that he was looking for a different role. And hey, he's still looking for more of a defensive role. And we realize it's probably not going to happen in the Brian Flores defense, but he continues to make an impact on special teams, on scout team. Every week you're in the locker room, you see him wearing not his customary number 6, but number whatever. You name the linebacker on the opposition. So whoever it is this week for the Packers, he's wearing that jersey number because he's on the scout team during practice. And he's embracing that role. There is no drama there. Same goes for Bobby McCain. I mean, Bobby McCain has played a ton of snaps in the league. 10 years. And he's been fine with the role that he has carved out. KOC leans on him for all sorts of advice. They talk all the time. Bobby McCain, I'm telling you, there's a good story there to be written or maybe done TV-wise. Just his role, really behind the scenes all season long. So I guess maybe when you think about that, maybe I shouldn't be all that surprised. But yeah, absolutely. Admittedly, Judd, if you had asked me Sunday morning, I would have told you, yes, Bobby McCain is not going to play more snaps than Theo Jackson. But yeah, I'm with you too, by the way. They still love Theo. They'll admit, heck, I think
good.
KOC admitted this the other day, right? Like if Theo was on any number of other teams, he'd be playing a lot of defensive snaps. Like he is a defensive starter in this league. But with the depth they have, he just isn't here. But yes, I do think Theo Jackson is going to have a pretty sizable role in 2025.
On the Wolves, I want to transition to the game against the Mavs on Christmas Day. Obviously, 28-point lead for the Wolves. They damn near blow that. But I want to go to the Star Tribune piece that Chris Hine penned off that game. So Julius Randle has a very nice game and basically plays the role that the Wolves want him to play. Facilitator, he does some scoring, but that's not his primary thing. But I'm not sure if you saw the quote, Doogs, but Chris Finch, talking post-game, said that in his opinion, Julius is doing a great job of adjusting to his role here because with the Knicks, more of a scorer, here a facilitator, and that this is basically a work in progress. That sort of stopped me because this is a Western Conference finalist from a year ago, and I knew it was going to take some time, but then Finch is like, well, we can't pick a magical game. Like it can't be, well, after the 45th game, if this does not work, it's a complete disaster. So I don't know if you saw those quotes, but what's your reaction to this sort of very fluid, hey, we think Julius from Finch's standpoint is doing great because, I've been thinking, okay, I think he's going to be traded, which he still might be. But were you surprised at all by the approach, which is, hey, it's just going to take some time, still going to take some time for a team that definitely had more than being in the play-in tournament as their goal going into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by the public statements. Emphasis on work in progress. I'm not quite sure I could say that there's been actual, quantifiable progress. Yeah, okay, a snippet here, a snippet there. This is not who Julius is. So they can say all they want publicly. Julius has one heck of a body of work. Go back any number of years. He is not a facilitator. He just isn't. He's iso ball. He's bully ball. If you're emphasizing ball movement, that's not Julius Randle. And so to me, the solution is if you're emphasizing ball movement, that the offense is best when the ball doesn't, in Finch's words, get sticky, you need to do what you did to D'Angelo Russell in the playoffs against Memphis a couple years ago. It's time to put Julius Randle on the bench. We can also emphasize the lack of effort on the defensive end. How many times have we watched Julius Randle,
great point,
on defense not move his feet, not switch, whatever it might be, it coming down to effort. But hey, like, he can play. He can help a team. I mean, there's a reason why it wasn't just the Wolves in the summer who had some interest in him. Atlanta had some interest. Detroit had some interest. Miami had some interest. And hey, there's also a reason why he's been on multiple teams. There's also probably a reason why the New York Knicks played their best basketball last year in the playoffs without Julius Randle. But to me, Judd, you need to play Naz Reid more. That's the idea. When you made the cat trade, it was an investment in Naz, not only for this year, but for the next few years, that you are going to sign him to a lucrative contract extension, that he has a player option for next year that undoubtedly he is going to exercise. So you need to renegotiate, sign Naz to a monster contract. Like, you think Jaden McDaniels is making good money, 5 years, 130, somewhere in that ballpark. We're talking more than that for Naz Reid, a good amount more than that. And hey, the other thing I would do, I would play Nickeil Alexander-Walker more. Now, he's in a contract year. I don't see a scenario, put it this way, it's hard for me to see a scenario where he is back next year. That's unfortunate because, to me, credit to Jay Billis, by the way, analyst on the broadcast on Christmas Day, doing his homework, realizing that Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been the Wolves' in many ways best player over the course of these first 29, 30 games, but for sure their most consistent player. So to me, the easiest pathway to Nickeil Alexander-Walker playing more is you put him in the starting lineup. Now, when Mike is making shots, Conley Jr., it helps, right? Because the ball is going to move. More often than not, the offense is going to look better when Mike is on the court. And he made some shots on Christmas Day, but he hasn't really made enough shots over the course of the season. Now, he admitted early in the season he was battling some sort of wrist issue, so I wonder if that's bothering him. He's not going to say anything in that regard. It's just something I'm wondering about on this reckless speculation Thursday, because he admitted to it earlier in the season. But I think for me, the easiest thing right now would be Naz starts, Nickeil starts, Conley to the bench, Randle to the bench. Now, do I think that is going to happen? No, I don't. And yeah, Judd, I'm not quite sure I would rule out. I mean, they are open-minded to any number of scenarios. I don't sense anything is imminent. Being a second apron team, the restrictions they're tough. It is not easy to make a trade. It really isn't. But to suggest that it's 100% that Julius Randle is going to be here beyond the trade deadline, I certainly can't tell you that right now.
Well, I mean, you mentioned a couple things that stuck out to me. There was he can certainly help a team, probably, from what I'm gathering, maybe not the Timberwolves as much. And you did the generous reminder that it is a reckless speculation Thursday. We don't have the vast array of sound assets that we have when Phil is on the show. It's a little bit of a low budget operation here today. So this is a fair warning as I propose this question that it is a reckless speculation Thursday.
Reckless speculation.
But Doogie, for Wolves fans out there clamoring before that NBA trade deadline, what's a team, maybe a player that they could keep an eye on that Julius Randle potentially, maybe hypothetically, could be sent away in order to get something in return?
Bravo,
I mentioned
AJ.
Yeah.
Bravo, great reckless
Absolutely.
speculation.
It's
Like totally reckless right there.
Today, I have a hard time believing that my guy JB Bickerstaff, the way Detroit is playing, watched them beat the Lakers the other night on League Pass. I have a hard time believing that JB and his front office now wants Julius Randle. So even though Detroit, some level of interest in the summer, let's take Detroit off the list. Atlanta. How much fun is Atlanta? That game Monday wasn't fun for Wolves fans, but man, do they have some wings. Man, do they have some length. Man, are they bouncy. Atlanta is as fun a watch on League Pass for me as any team in the league. Maybe OKC won, but I put Atlanta darn near toward the top of my list.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the match with Atlanta. And the money they would have to send out, yeah, Clint Capella is available, but how does Clint Capella fit in here? Does he fit in? Sure, he could be the backup 5, but I don't know if I see the Clint Capella fit here. Plus, that doesn't even work. I don't even know how much else, I'm not on the trade machine, that Atlanta would have to add in. You're not aggregating Julius with anybody else, right? It's Julius to somewhere, then you're getting back a player or two. I'm just telling you, second apron makes things really, really difficult. Miami, what do they do with Jimmy Butler? Is there potential of a three-way? Okay, no, Jimmy is not coming back to Minnesota.
Yeah, thanks, I'm good.
Is there a potential three-way deal out there? Miami would be the team I would keep an eye on. Maybe Brooklyn, just his ties to New York. What exactly is Brooklyn doing over the next year? Toronto, I think, is interested in doing some things. So if you want to concoct some scenarios, I guess go for it. But to expect you're getting like this large return for Julius Randle, I'm sorry. I don't see it. I've seen some people try to concoct the idea of De'Aaron Fox of Sacramento somehow landing here in a Julius Randle trade. Uncle Mercy. Like what? Like Monty McNair, Wes Wilcox? Trust me, they watch the games. Those are smart executives. Monty and Wes are not trading De'Aaron Fox for Julius Randle. Give me a break. So some of the ideas, I get it. I appreciate the passion that many fans have. But some of these ideas I've seen on social media, I mean, it's incredibly laughable.
All right, let's go to the Twins, guys, because on Christmas Eve, I mean, we've all been bitching and moaning the whole winter, when are the Twins going to make a move? And they magically, under the tree at the 11th hour, much like Santa Claus, they come in and they give you a trade that you've been longing for. Moran to Boston for catcher, infielder Mickey Gasper. So take that. All of you people that think the Twins aren't doing a thing, Dukes, on this reckless speculation Thursday, the Twins have given us the deal that we were all anxiously awaiting.
That's it. Hey, Jeremy Zoll in the front office, I think he was probably working Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, heck yeah. Jeremy Zoll, right? Like, yes. So he minimum in that front office was doing some work. So yeah, Mickey Gasper can't offer a whole lot. Admittedly, I don't know a lot. Hey, the bat probably plays if he can give you anything defensively. A catcher, I'm not quite sure you're playing him at first or second very often. Whatever. At least we have something to talk about. Now, I will tell you, Carlos Santana to the Guardians. Sure, the Twins had conversations with his representation, but never came close to making any sort of, solid financial offer, put it that way. So zero surprise that Carlos left. On Max Kepler, hey, good for him. I actually thought he'd get a multi-year deal. Ends up signing 1 year, $10 million with the Phillies, shifting to left field. Yeah, he'll play left field.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, the Twins, I mean, this is no surprise. The Twins were not engaged there, right? It was a foregone conclusion back in October that Max Kepler was going to end his 15-year run in the Twins organization. He was a part of that 2009 international free agent class. On these Pablo Lopez trade rumors, here's what a source told me earlier in the week. Let me make sure I'm reading this verbatim.
All right.
Getting many calls on Pablo, but can't imagine getting any offers that could be merely as valuable as Pablo, so can't imagine moving him. So they're doing their job. Like, guess what? They've gotten calls on Royce Lewis. So if somebody wants to aggregate that, blow that up, fine.
They will.
Go for it.
Go to work, aggregators.
It's literally what front offices do.
I'm tweeting.
You inquire.
Yeah.
You ask about all sorts of possibilities. So it's Royce. It's Buck. I've mentioned this going back years. They've gotten a ton of calls over the years on Matt Wallner. Doesn't mean anything has come remotely close to happening. So sure, right? Like you look at that Pablo Lopez contract, it's favorable for how good he is. So sure, instead of paying whatever to Sean Manaea or any number of middle tier free agent pitchers, if you could give up something, but you get back a pitcher that's better than Sean Manaea while paying less. What's Manaea? 3 years, 75, so 25 a year.
Pablo's just resigned with the Mets.
Not at 25, right? Wasn't it 478?
I think that's right.
480, something like that. 481. Now Pablo's contract jumps up significantly.
Yes,
this year. So the money he was making in 24 compared to 25, he is taking a massive step up.
Which is why the calls are coming.
Contract. Yeah,
like people know that the Twins are potentially that carcass, right? That the birds go pick. So like they're trying at least because they know that the Twins don't want to spend. So like the calls make sense. Do you think Willie Castro still gets dealt? Because that's one that I could easily see them saying we don't want to pay what he might get.
Yeah, so I'm looking here. So what is the Pablo Lopez contract? I'm just curious. $73.5 million over 4 years. So that is a good contract for the Twins. On Willie Castro,
Yeah.
I've not heard of anything coming close. I still look at Chris Paddock first. Like if another trade happens here in the coming days, like I would keep an eye most on Chris Paddock. Yes, interest still in moving Christian Vasquez, but maybe not the easiest to find a match. Do they need to eat some money on that front? Yes, they are open to moving Willie Castro, but I don't know if the right offer comes about. Rocco still has a healthy opinion of Willie, loves the versatility, loves what Willie brought last year. Yeah, the Twins don't steal many bases, but Willie can steal bases, so he brings that element to a team that really doesn't have that. Mm-hmm. So I don't sense they're like on the cusp. I'm not ruling it out. Like if I'm making a list of trade possibilities, okay, Paddock, Vasquez, Castro's probably number 3 on the list. So I'm not denying it, but I've not heard of anything in recent days that suggests anything is on the cusp of happening.
Final scoop, sir. What you got?
What else did I write down for you gentlemen? Oh, interesting local TV note. So last Saturday night, there was Tennessee, Ohio State on ABC, UConn, USC, a very intriguing women's basketball game on CBS, and the Wolves have 5 games locally on NBC. The first of those 5 was the Wolves-Warriors game on Saturday. Now, hey, the game got delayed. Jonathan Kuminga hangs on the rim, busts some nail. It took like 35 minutes for them to fix the rim. So the game was supposed to start at 7:10, ended up tipping off like at 7:45. So that did not help. Plus, there was an audience on FanDuel. But if you look at just the numbers here in the Twin Cities of the women's game, the college football game, and the Wolves game, the Wolves finished 3rd. College football 1, women's game 2, Wolves 3. Now, again, that does not include the FanDuel numbers. I will also note there were approximately, 18 to 19,000 people in the arena. Steph Curry draws an audience Saturday night. It was probably darn near a sellout, or it was a sellout. Yep. That's about a ratings point. So that matters, right? That it was a home game, that you had all these people in your arena watching. But I just thought the game would deliver a bigger number on NBC locally than it did. So I found that relatively interesting. Cody Lindenberg of the Gopher football team going pro, not a surprise, have mentioned that in at least one space or multiple spaces going back a few weeks, but he signed with local agency IFA, Blake Barretts. So Blake Barretts will represent Cody Lindenberg. And Addie Mack of Minnehaha Academy, senior guard, a commit to the University of Maryland. She will go over the 4,000 career point mark at some point this weekend. She is 40 points away. She averages 35 points a game. She has a game on Friday, a game on Saturday. So at some point this weekend, health willing, Addie Mack, one of the best girls basketball players in the state, heck, one of the best going back any number of years. I mean, we have unbelievable talent. When you think about Madden Greenway at Providence Academy, a junior, when you think about Tori Orline up at Crosby Ironton, who committed to the Gophers a few weeks ago, also a junior, just some really, really special girls basketball players in the Metro that can score a ton of points. But Addie Mack is one of them. So really cool honor for her. The Minnehaha Academy boys basketball team, coached by Tyus and Trey Jones's older brother, JD, first-year head coach. So JD Jones, the older brother of Tyus and Trey, the boys basketball coach at Minnehaha Academy.
Very nice, Dukes. We will catch up with you for more scoops on Tuesday, and then a week from now, I think we'll be back to full strength. So Declan and Phil will be back. Talk to you then.
So we will talk, New Year's Eve? So not quite next year. We'll talk on Tuesday, New Year's Eve?
Exactly right.
I like it. One more note, Frank Mitchell, Gophers basketball. He missed the last game, concussion protocol. He should be fine heading into that non-conference game on Sunday. And more importantly, okay, you win Sunday, but then Purdue is here 1 week from tonight. So if you're going to make any sort of push,
duck.
I mean, I don't know if it matters at this point.
No.
But if you care at all about Gophers men's basketball, Purdue is here 1 week from today. Frank Mitchell, they need him. Should be back this weekend.
All right, sir. Great stuff. Scoop session is complete. We will talk to you next week.